Do you ever feel like a hamster on a hamster wheel, not getting anywhere new? Perhaps you've hit a plateau that has you asking, is this it? Have you accomplished all you've set out to do in life and are not feeling as fulfilled as you thought you would? It is normal at midlife to reassess what's working for you and what's not. It's also normal to want to reclaim your time, your energy, and your joy. Let's make the best out of the second half of our lives by having more fun, experiencing more peace, and feeling more joy. If any of this resonates with you, then this podcast is for you. I'm Megan Bayless-Bartley. Now let's get ready to shift our shit. Hello there, Megan Bayless-Bartley coming to you from the Mindfulness Center here with Elizabeth McCormack, one of our amazing therapists. We are deep into season number 6 of the Shifting Our Shit podcast, talking about perimenopause and menopause this season. And we don't have any sort of fancy title for this because we couldn't decide on one. I'm voting for the Fuck It 40s and the Fabulous 50s. Elizabeth, what are you?
I've
have any
heard
ideas?
lots of things. People have all kinds of analogies for your back nine and your second half of life. So I like it to be a little more positive.
A little positive.
Something good happening.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I do think there's a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of crazy shit happening too. So this episode is our first episode, and we're going to do these in 2 parts. So part A, we're going to talk about the definition of perimenopause and menopause. What is this? What hormones are involved? What those hormones do? What it all sort of just is sort of from a medical perspective. And then we'll shift into part 2, which is going to be more about what we have control over, what we don't have control over in that sort of physical kind of medical realm.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get started.
Yeah.
So here we go. Give us some definitions. What is perimenopause? What is menopause? Where do we start?
So I want to first claim that we are not medical people. So you're not getting medical advice.
We are licensed therapists.
We are licensed therapists, but it's not your medical advice. You always need to hit up your doctor, and good luck with that, because it's really hard to find somebody who knows anything about this space.
Yes.
But it is possible, if you get really serious about the Menopause Society, that kind of stuff, you can get plenty of resources. So we want to say, go do the appropriate testing and the things and talk to a medical doctor. We're just trying to give you more of our personal experience in this space and the experience of people around us, because it seems like this is a new hot topic that everybody's now willing to talk about, where women of previous generations just dealt with the natural progression of life. And we're not so interested.
Toughed it out.
Yeah.
But we are licensed therapists. We have master's degrees. We see couples, we see individuals with all sorts of these symptoms. So we, are thick into this as well. Not only that, we are towards the end of our 40s.
Yeah.
Elizabeth's not admitting she's almost 50. I'm full into being 50, but that's okay. I will say, when you are looking for medical professionals, there are gynecologists that are not OB-GYNs, so they don't deliver babies. They only do perimenopause and menopausal work too. I have found somebody, a friend of mine gave me a referral. She has been amazing. I have done 0 tests on any of my things. She treats me for my symptoms. So there is a lot of options. So if you are working with somebody who is not being helpful, you may want to look for a second opinion. So.
Yeah. And I would say that I personally have talked to several gynecologists and gotten bad advice, gotten all kinds of different things, and run all the tests. I've run all the tests, and that's been fairly frustrating. For years. But to be fair, a lot of this starts pretty early on that we don't even notice. Like when we're talking about what they refer to as a geriatric pregnancy at 35, that is the same time that we're talking about doing a perimenopause space. It can happen as early as 35. So if we know the average is 45 to 53 is the average time that a woman technically goes through menopause, and that means for 12 months she has not had spotting, bleeding of any kind. Unfortunately, that's the definition. But then, so there's Megan who has that experience. And then I have the medical intervention side where no spotting and bleeding here, but I'll never know when it's actually happening because all the things were taken out. And that was the solution to my problems, which is not the solution to the problems.
No.
But it is really nice.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Lovely.
All right, let's dive into definitions. Let's learn about all the things, okay? I'm sure you're watching all the TikToks, you're watching all the Instagram reels. We're going to walk through this for a whole season, start to finish, on everything you can think about. And if there's anything we're missing, we would love for you to comment in the comments so that we can address them. So, definitions.
So, big time, we want to talk about what is actually happening, and what largely we're understanding is that there are some hormones that are in decline, that your ovaries are not so interested in working the way they used to. And we all know that in the course of a month, your ovaries do lots of different things that do affect the things that we specialize in. So they do affect your mood, they affect your dopamine production, they affect how you feel in your relationships and in your world. So that has to do with your anxiety level, and that people complain about a laundry list of things that are happening because your ovaries are not producing what they used to produce. And that has to do with all of the sexual hormones. So that's going to be testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen. So we know that when those are declining, and unfortunately that decline starts around, for some folks 35, for some folks 45, for some folks they can be in their 50s and still be like, I'm holding strong, I'm having a great time. It's totally different. And unfortunately, because those hormones change every day in your body, there's not a good test. There's a lot of frustration. And as Megan has mentioned, symptom management is basically what we're doing. We're just looking at what's your chief complaint and what are we going to do about it. So we probably need to talk about what some of those chief complaints are, just so that we've got like a big picture. There's a list, I'm sure, on a TikTok or Instagram reel or whatever that has 60 common factors. The ones that I hear most often are the ones that are going to affect our mood and behavior and how we feel in the world. So that has to do with sleep. I think sleep was my first complaint of I was awake in the middle of the night and I was like, what is wrong? I am the most tired person of a mom with young kids. And the doctor's like, oh, you're just tired. And it's like, I'm tired, but I don't think that's why I'm tired. I'm up at 3 a.m. and can't fall back to sleep. What is that? Why is that happening? And so that for me was very early on in my frustration in this space of just like blaming me. And medical doctors were kind of saying like, oh, you need less stress. And I'm like, I don't work that hard or that much to be that big of a deal. And my life is not extraordinarily stressful. There aren't great big things I'm dealing with. And so it's hard to be told you're too stressed. And it's like, well, I think it's how I'm interacting with stress, not that I'm too stressed. So that's changing as estrogen changes in our body. But the sleep disruption is only one tiny piece of the overall picture. That it has to do with our weight changes and fluctuates as these hormones take vacation. We have decreased libido, brain fog, dryness, absolutely anywhere. That can happen in your mouth. You can have more cavities. It can happen in your eyeballs. It can happen in your skin. All the places can go dry on you. A lot of women complain about some UTIs or some incontinence. And Megan and I both have rebounders. I don't know if you remember back in the day of Jane Fonda and the jumping up and down. Let me tell you, if you jump up and down as a lady that's had a couple kids, you're going to have maybe some incontinence. You're going to have to figure out what are we doing to keep this area good and strong.
That rebounder sent me to PT to do some pelvic floor PT.
And that feels like it's a new area. I don't know why we're just now talking about physical therapy in this space, but I mean, there are plenty of people who specialize in, there's a lot going on down here. You can be too strong and that cause problems for you, or not strong enough, also causing problems for you. But it's almost like anyone who's had any trauma to the area, let's call childbirth, you need some work. You need things to get it back together. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and the pelvic floor is all the way back and around.
Oh, it's a lot.
So they check out all.
Hammock.
Which is not bad.
More
It's a
hammock
whole
action.
hammock.
Whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah. But you can also, when you're losing some estrogen, have the symptoms or the feelings that we've all been described as a UTI and actually not have a UTI.
Yep.
So I just love to go to the doctor and pee in a cup because I think I have a UTI. Cool. And they're like, actually, you're fine, but you're still having the symptoms of needing to go after you've gone. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Why didn't anybody say that could be a thing? So I didn't wonder and keep going to the doctor and peeing in the cup. Could we just tell me that was a thing and I needed something else to fix that thing? So that's a whole thing. So poor dental health, night sweats. I don't
talk about
like
dehydrating you.
Seriously.
Sleep and night sweats were the things that sent me to get something, and progesterone and 400 milligrams a day, which if you're only on 200 and you're still having symptoms, you can go up. It's just, how friendly is your doctor in managing all of that? And
they are really trial and error. And it really, no one can know what it's like inside your body, just like nobody can know what it's like inside your brain if you don't say it. And it's like, yes, I'm also on progesterone at the moment. Probably not taking enough because I still can wake up in the middle of the night and be like, why am I awake? Yeah. But the reality is that my numbers look fine. Yeah. I love that for me, but I'm still taking all the things, working on all the things. Yeah. And it affects all day long. There's no like, oh, you want to sweat at night? Oh, you can sweat during the day too. Let's not forget the one we've all heard of hot flashes. Like, oh God, that's the generational curse. I feel like I'm now layering in tank tops. So at any moment I can rip off whatever I'm wearing to have a tank top on because I cannot. And 2 seconds later I'll be cold and then I'll have to put the shirt back on. It's crazy. I know. And I've even had this space where I can't wear a coat in the car. I feel like it's attacking me. It's so, there's something about anything being tight on my arms and that's a heat source. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, get it off. Like I kind of freak out. Yeah. And then everybody knows that I'll be driving because I'm the only one in my family that drives. And so they'll be pulling a coat off of me. I mean, thank goodness I live in Florida and I don't wear coats very much, but I don't know how people drive around with a coat on. No. That seems insane. Yes. Okay. So this part of the video, we're going to talk more about what does estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone do and how that affects maybe the dopamine and whatever. And then the second part of the video, we're going to talk a little bit more about how that all plays together with mood stuff. So why are each of those things important? What do they regulate? And then, So let's start with our sexual hormones, because I think that is where we need to start. We need to kind of think about how all of our emotional hormones and chemicals in our brain, they then get kind of laid on top of each other. So we kind of want to start with, what does estrogen do? And let me tell you, it does all the things. Kind of like and you. Just like ladies out there, kind of like you. You do all the things, so does estrogen. Estrogen controls so many things in our body. And it obviously, as we went through the list of symptoms, it's affecting so much. And it's so hard to just say that it's one thing because I don't think we know when we're young and we're going through our adolescent puberty of like the roller coaster of emotions and the mood irritability and all the things. It's like, oh no, this estrogen is big time. It really means something for us. Yeah. And so we have to look at, what does that do? Well, estrogen gives us motivation. Estrogen gives us focus. Estrogen is playing a role in how the world feels for us. Wow. And so when we don't have it, we have a harder time. We don't have it. That frustration tolerance is not awesome. And I have moments where it's like, I didn't ever used to feel like a violent person, but I now kind of have moments where I'm like, I could understand throat punching someone just maybe for leaving their stuff around my house. Yeah. And it's like, why am I like all of a sudden this rage person of like, I know I'm having an irrational response. I mean, I teach kids emotional regulation and adult emotional regulation every day, all day long. Right. And it's like, I know my emotions are out of whack and I'm having an irresponsible reaction to something that is small, like shoes or socks or
Right.
whatever, backpack that's still at
That
the front door every day.
irritability or that like
It's-
nails on the chalkboard kind of feeling of like, I need a timeout.
I
Otherwise,
have to, or it's going to be
Messy.
really, I'm going to have to say, I'm sorry, because I can't, it's got to come out
Yeah.
or whatever. So we know that that estrogen plays a role in just how your mood is regulated, how all of these physical functions are happening in your body. And without it, we have to learn a whole new way to be in the world. And I just don't think we've ever really fully understood all of that.
Generations before us did not, there was no really embracing. I mean, doctors were not embracing this. It was sort of like white knuckle it through it if you were having symptoms or whatever. And so this is really, Gen X is the first, you know, generation that's like really gung-ho for,
let's dive down and figure out what's happening for sure.
Let's be pro-woman and pro-body, and what is it that we need? We're speaking up.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And so if we know that that's a big deal and the estrogen needs to be in balance with progesterone, that a lot of times we don't really understand it. The doctors just kind of throwing progesterone pills at you and going, okay, you don't sleep well at night. So what we know about progesterone is that it is that calm down. It helps your mood regulate. And we'll talk about the brain chemicals and how the two kind of fit together in the next episode. But we know that they tend to prescribe you progesterone at night to help with that calming your body down. And we all can benefit from some calm. That's totally on board.
Little magnesium glycinate at night
We
too.
also
Like
do that.
that could be awesome.
It is helpful, but all of that is just a chemical trying to replace what your body had before. And so we know that for lots of women, the cortisol kind of spikes at 3 a.m, and that's why we kind of wake up. But that has to do with how much progesterone's in your body, because if your progesterone gets all used up and you're still trying to be sleeping in the middle of the night, you're going to wake up and not be able to calm yourself down, bring yourself back to sleep.
Interesting.
And so that's a huge part. So then we also know that our pal testosterone, which we always have labeled that as a male problem, like men have low testosterone, but no, oh my goodness, mine has always been so low. And like, oh, it's within normal range. Well, but normal range is from 15 to 150. And it's like, I'm tired of being at 15. And lots of doctors have been like, oh, but for women, we don't have a way to do that. Insurance won't pay for it because all of these, the replacement is not paid for by your insurance. You're paying out of pocket to replace any of these, which is totally unfair. However, we know that FDA have approved men's testosterone replacement. For women, it's not FDA approved. And so when we're out here just adding a little testosterone for the ladies, we're just throwing a dart going, hope this works. And you can do that through shots. You can do that through creams. You can do that through pellets. And it feels a little bit like the Wild West. Who do I trust to put something in my body that's going to give me energy? We know that that's a thing. We also know that low libido, not feeling a whole lot of desire, is part of this. And lots of women in this space and lots of couples that I see are complaining about low desire. And they say, and I say to them, like, let me give you the language for this. I want to have sex, but just the want is not there. It's not that my spouse is not attractive or that I don't like them. I really had a gynecologist say to me, even though she knows I'm a marriage and family therapist, and she goes, well, maybe you just don't like your spouse. And I was A, offended, but B, let me tell you, I didn't go to my gynecologist for couples advice. I was not in the space, and she knows what I do for a living. So I was like, maybe she just forgot that this is my area, and no, that's not the thing. People. And does she shame people? Like, oh, you now need a divorce, or you are not sexually attracted. And it's like, no, I have zero almost in comparison to somebody who's walking around with a woman with 150, and I don't even know the male numbers of what their testosterone when they're trying to like have extra testosterone. But we know that your motivation is low. You're more fatigued. You don't have any energy or interest in things without testosterone. And then you don't have any sexual desire, because if there isn't desire to just get up and go do something fun, there's not desire to go up and do something really fun. So we've got to kind of figure out, what does this space look like, and how do we help couples manage this difficult conversation of saying like, yeah, I used to really think that was fun. Now, Have I showered?
I could go without it.
Is it good enough for me to take my clothes off? Like, what do you need? What do I need? How have we dealt with this conversation in our relationship in the past? Have we been married 20 years? What does love look like later on? So these are all topics that we're going to talk about as we go through this process of like, we're going to talk about how do we help all the sexual dysfunction that's happening in this space? How do we know if we need to go talk to a specific sex therapist or we need to talk to someone to work on our testosterone levels? And how does all of that work? And how do we pay for it? I mean, it's all part of the picture of figuring out what does this space look like? How can we be as healthy as possible, knowing that all of these changes are happening and they're going to continue to change. So even if you figure it out for the next 6 months, it doesn't mean that in another 6 months, it's going to look different. Which is super frustrating and means we have to be really self-aware of what's going on for us.
Yes. And speaking of self-awareness, it's really important for us, Elizabeth and I. We want to make sure that in these conversations around perimenopause and menopause, we are really prioritizing the woman who's going through this in her body. We want men to be aware of all these things. We want them to listen to all of this so that they are aware of their partners or wives or moms or whatever, what their experience is. We are going to touch on relationship stuff, but we really want to empower women to be their own advocates. We want to empower women to empower women and advocate for one another. I mean, I share my story all the time. Elizabeth and I are going to get into a lot of personal information that you may or may not want to know about us.
I know. So like if my boys are listening, you might want to maybe listen to the Boundaries podcast rather than this one.
Right. And we've also run this all by our husbands because there may be some conversations that will divulge some things there, and got the go ahead green light from husbands about, because I think we're not talking about this enough. And Elizabeth and I, you know, we work together, but we've been friends. I've been friends with Elizabeth longer than I've known my husband. So we are dear friends. We are colleagues. We think in this systemic way from this therapist's perspective. But the thing also that we are passionate about is this empowerment of women to really understand themselves, their bodies, their minds, their emotions, so that they can speak up for themselves in any given situation, whether it's in a parenting situation, whether it's in a relationship with their own parents that they have to put boundaries in place, whether it's a relationship with their partners, or it's the relationship they have with themselves. I really think in my 40s, my task has really been about, I feel like I've always kind of known myself, but I've really stepped into, this is who I am, you know, like this is who I am. This is what I enjoy. This is what I don't enjoy. You know, I'm a morning person. I'm not a night person. I'm owning this. My family knows it. Like, I'm not trying to be anything I don't need to be, right? I'm saying no when I don't want to do things. If it doesn't feed my soul, you know, like I rarely do it because there's enough shit we do, like dishes and laundry, that usually doesn't feed our soul so much. So the things that I really want to do, I'm going to say yes to, but the things I really don't want to do. And so there's an element of empowering, you know, yourself in this 40s. The decades of 40s is often really about reevaluation. You've lived for 40 years. You are probably going to live, hopefully, another 40 years. So we're kind of like smack in between of like, how do I want to live the next 40 years? And so part of this, we want to give you as much information as we can to help empower you to take it and run with it and do what's best for you. And I think when one person speaks their truth in a relationship, it speaks the truth for the whole relationship. Whether or not the other people in the relationship are comfortable with that, your truth right now, it deceiving if you hold your truth quiet and don't speak it, so it allows, you know, everybody else to understand who you are and what you need. You know, I mean, it's interesting. It can create some conflict. But those might be good conversations to have, especially if we are going to be with our partners for another 40 years, or we're deciding we're not going to be with those partners for another 40 years. So this is episode 1, part 1. We're going to come back for part 2, and we're going to talk about the mood.
Right. And so maybe just some of the more like hormones on top of our brain chemistry, so that we can kind of understand that space. And I really do want to give people information that you then feel more comfortable having the conversation with a friend, so that you know of like, oh, I'm not alone in this. And the more we're all talking about this space, because people are on all kinds of social media talking about all these topics. And it seems like people are feeling a little more comfortable to say like, oh, is that happening to you too? Oh, I feel like I'm doing too much for my kids. Why do I not want to do this stuff for them anymore? What is this shift that's happening? And that's more about, I don't have as much energy just by the biology of life.
Right.
And so I need to be much more careful about how I use the energy I have. And that means I don't necessarily want to do all the things I've been doing.
Yes, which what the SOS Shifting Our Ship podcast is all about, is how do we get you more time and energy and joy so you can set some better boundaries, you can understand yourself better, because life's too short. Yeah. All right, join us for our second half of episode 1, and we're going to talk about the mood roller coaster based on all of these hormones that are going crazy in our bodies.